Ladies and gentlemen, I am BDLM coming with my buddy J4Y, bringing you episode number 85 of our Dota on Demand podcast. What's going on, man?
Alrighty, 85. Doing well over here, man. Had a kind of a slow start this week. I don't know, I had only a 4-day work week last week, so it felt really short. I know, poor me, right?
Baby.
Yeah, it was rough, I tell you. And coming back in this week, it's been rough and tough, but you know, I'm trying to wear through it. Actually, the worst part this week, obviously, is a bit of a tangent, but what isn't on our podcast? But
Exactly.
The fact that last week was spring break here, and so all the kiddies were out, and our commute, well, at least mine, was amazing because you know there was like no one on the road. And then today was like their first day back because of Easter Monday, and yeah, my commute went up like 25% in time, so that was unfortunate.
Well, you know, yeah. Well, at least you had the day off. I mean, some of us... Actually, I got an hour off early, but I actually still worked it because...
Lucky dog.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so lucky.
Well, to be fair, I tortured myself on Friday because me and my fiance went to the National Zoo, because I've never been, but it was spring break, once again, and I forgot that. So, of course, all the parents took their kids to a free zoo on Friday, and there was more people than animals. That was the real zoo. So
I have to say, while we're not talking about Dota
of course,
at all, you'll remember this story, but I remember taking a girlfriend to the aquarium for Valentine's Day because I'm like, oh, she's never been, she's wanted to go. This will be great. Who's going to go to the aquarium on Valentine's Day? Answer: every person that has ever been will go to the aquarium on Valentine's Day. So just nope. So it's like I don't even care about the fish. Like squid, I don't. Whatever. I have to look over 10 heads of screaming children. Not worth it. But you live, you learn. I know. Not. You know, there was no Tide Hunter there. I don't even know why I went. It's like, what is this?
Disappointing.
No one's running around with a hammerhead shark in their hand. I don't. What is the point of this?
Good way to bring it all back into Dota. That was a great tie-in.
Segues. Oh, you know, it's all the experience of 85 episodes, how you segue anything back to Dota. But I have to continue to start the show off with a little bit of anecdote, because pretty ballin' experience this past week. I had a really bad day at work one day, and I'm just like, whatever, sucks, I'm going to come home, I'm just going to chill, play some video games. Well, let me tell you what I came home to. On Christmas, I got myself a nice little sign to go with the fact that we do this podcast, and I have to basically block off a section of my house from people being able to use it because it's podcast. Here's where you turn to the YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, .com/DotaOnDemand, or the live stream, twitch.tv/DotaOnDemand. We're about to go on a little tour of BDLM's mansion.
Cribs.
To see, BDLM's cribs. Hopefully there'll be a better episode if I ever make money. But right now, here we go. All right, hold on. There's a.
Oh boy.
What do we? Wait. Oh, that's never mind.
Oh.
So, I would just like to point your attention to that little plexiglass sign over there. Not only is it just awesome on its own, but it happens to say, oh, it's hard to see. It says recording with a nice little microphone on it, and it's remote controlled. So I kind of I feel like a baller. It still looks mostly like a room, but it pretty much feels like a studio now. And you know, it's just awesome, as you also get to see my pajama pants. Because you got to dress real classy for the podcast as well.
You actually usually do. You usually have like a button-up on or something. I'm a little surprised today, to be honest.
It's Casual Tuesday.
I mean, I'm all out right now. I know you can't see, but I got my Wanna Lick the Little Owl Lollipop shirt going on. So I'm like fully decked out today.
That is your nicest shirt. I can vouch for that.
It is. The nicest one that's clean. So, which is probably the only one. They are one and the same. So, there you be.
Yeah, but you know, it kind of reminded me actually of when you watch the free-to-play documentary, and even there was an interview with Casey, who was the news interviewer at TI3, who was going around and sort of provided a lot of the intermissions with comic relief, did some of the interviews. It was really entertaining. She was a great personality to have. She did an interview, and she was asked, like, if your kid said that they wanted to play a video game for a career, would you be okay with it? And she said, yeah, I'd be all about it if, you know, my kid shows the determination to do it, and they're not just saying, "Oh, I want to do it," and I play video games. If they're like, "I'm doing it. I'm joining a team. I'm going to these competitions." If they're actually showing like the follow through to actually take care of it, and just again with free to play and how I think apparent it was what the support from loved ones really, how much it counted for all of the players that we got to see that into their lives. It's a nice little thing to come home to. So you support your loved ones and all their crazy shenanigans out there, people, because it's definitely.
Who knows what they're capable of accomplishing?
Now that I have the sign, we're going pro. I just want you to know that is what it is.
That was what we were missing. That was the missing element this whole time. I do not have any recording signs, so anyone could barge in at any moment and be disruptive, and I would have no method to prevent that, unfortunately.
Yeah, well,
why did you just disappear off the camera for a second? Where were you going off to?
Close the door.
You were just getting one of those little hooks off side stage to pull you off?
Yeah.
Also, before we jump into the meat and potatoes of this, I think we should mention something about our content we're working on behind the scenes on Dota On Demand. Our Dota Theater 3K. As we discussed how we released the first episode, I did. I jumped the gun.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're actually doing it the way we intended, where we're going to try to build up a little pack of them, if you will, and then decide when the timing is right, release the content, and have you guys check them out. Let us know what you think, give some feedback, and hopefully we can make a success of that additional content. But to go with that, unfortunately, we done bad.
We may have dropped a ball, not the ball, a ball.
Singular, yeah.
It's not even the important one. We may have waited too long to try to cast some of the games from the match IDs that you guys provided. We're sorry. We'll never do it again. If you just forgive us, take us back. We love you. We want to be with you forever in a not creepy way.
Oh, gosh, okay.
And so totally submit your match IDs, and we'll totally watch the games and do the cast
this time
of them. It'll be great, I promise. So keep sending them in, and we'll have fun with them. It'll be fun for everybody, probably. So I guess on to the, as you like to say every week now, the meat and potatoes. If you're not into Easter bunnies or people coming back from the dead, not as zombies, you might have had some Starladder to watch this weekend because the finals were also going on, as opposed to Easter. Yeah, anyway, Starladder Finals, LAN Finals, new champion crowned. There's going to be some spoilers, by the way.
Yeah.
But conveniently enough, the three teams that we've really tried to look in depth into on this show previously actually wound up being the top three. DK taking first position, Empire taking second, EG taking third. I think a really great tournament overall. I always enjoy the Starladders. I mean, do you have anything to say, maybe just to the fact of the new format or anything that you saw that you maybe liked or saw out of the ordinary?
Well, I have to say, first of all, that I really like the production value. They really stepped up their game, I think, with this one. The casting, I mean, of course, I only watched the English one because that's the only one I understood. Not very multilingual. So, unfortunately, just stuck with English. But beyond the summit, it was LD and Merlini, I believe, for the majority of it. I know Shiver and someone else was also helping out, but unfortunately, I didn't watch too many of them.
K-Pop-tosis.
Okay.
There were some nice interviews by Shiver. K-Pop came on to talk with Shiver just about some of the games too in the intermission. So, yeah, I agree with you. They didn't have the, Dream League desk or the international panel, but they did have some stuff in between the games to keep you interested.
And they had some stat screens, for certain heroes, popped up, said win rates and different challenge and against certain heroes and different things. It was actually pretty interesting, and when it came down to it, and we got to hear those awesome Shiver commercials in between every now and then, her advertising the Starladder stuff. So, gotta give all the love to that. But no, it was really nice. The audience was clearly into it. You could hear them, and I mean, whenever you hear an audience through one of those recordings, it's loud in there because that means it's ×3 or ×5 volume in the room when you're actually there. Because we kind of got a glimpse of that firsthand when we were at TI2. When you hear some of those recordings from the TI2, you kind of hear the audience getting to oh, they're kind of cool. But when we were there, it was an uproar. It was like, holy moly, like the building was going to fall down on us. So, yeah, that was pretty awesome to see the audience so into it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also really enjoyed that we got to see a more international version of Starladder. You know, outside of, I believe it's just WPC Ace and the international itself, biggest prize pool that we have for Dota 2 this year. And getting to see it on an international level, obviously an American team winds up finishing top. You have a Chinese team taking it all. So you complete obvious benefit to expanding it out to the rest of the world. Even got to bring a Korean team in.
Yeah.
They may not have finished in the best of standings, but
Yeah.
just I feel like if you're catapulting them into that global stage, you're only going to see the Korean team pick up more, have there be more interest in it, and improvements be made to their play that much faster.
I think they got confused. I think they were trying to find the League of Legends event and accidentally stumbled
just-
into the Dota one, and they're like, well, while we're here, we might as well just play a couple games, so why not? Same game, right?
Close, pretty much the same. Everybody agrees that it's the same game, and that both are equally viable. That's what everyone's opinion is, I think.
Oh, indeed. But I have to say another thing I kind of liked about the event, and it seems like this is becoming popular, is the contributions for the prize pool to make it grow. So they did that, and that's what you said. It grew to be a really large prize pool, and actually the top team, so we already said spoilers. So yeah, DK taking first, they ended up getting $85,000 roughly. Second place got 37.8, and third place got 26.4. So not too bad. Obviously nothing like the TI4 or anything, but considering first of all that they have multiple seasons throughout the year, so it's not like this is just once a year event. And I don't know. I think it's a pretty cool thing. It should continue to grow, and everything will continue to improve, I think, as these events go on.
I think that's an important point too. It's not like you have this season, it ends, and there's an off season for that long. I mean, I feel like these things pretty much just pick up right off as soon as the last one ends with the
regionals.
Going into the regionals. So I think that even adds to like how important it is to include the other regions, because I just remember, again, to go back to TI2, you didn't have a whole lot of opportunities to see how the Chinese scene was directly relating to the Western scene, and there was, oh man, these Chinese teams are going to be big, who's going to be able to beat them. Now you really have a realistic, like, wow, so DK, we should probably start doing something about this if we're going to have a game plan to take it. Because really, if you guys just watch the finals, I mean, you would know, kind of one-sided. DK doesn't drop a whole game at the LAN, and
they just drop a half a game.
Just a half of one. And it really in spectacular fashion. I will say, though, this is the one thing that I really dislike about the tournament, and the more I think about it, the more I just sincerely dislike it. When you look at the final day, the number of games that Empire had to play coming out of the losers bracket, they had to do the losers bracket semis, the losers bracket finals, and then not just go into the finals, but go into a weighted finals. So they had to play. They could have played more games than that in one day against 3 different high-level competitive teams from around the world, and you're going to go, okay, well, you've earned your way into the final. Now you're a game down against the best team in the league. Good luck. I feel like if you're going to play 7 games in a day, that should be the weight. You know what I mean? Not giving them an automatic game. It should be, you're exhausted and you've had no time to prepare. The other team has gotten to sit and watch all of your games, just eating some Twinkies, leaning back in their recliners, taking a nap. I mean,
how are they eating Twinkies, watching, and taking a nap at the same time? That is the ultimate relaxation right there.
You just rub the throat, and it just goes down slow.
That's what she said. So, yeah, it's been a while since we've done something like that. So, yeah, I completely agree with you. I honestly believe that they just were put under a lot of stress. It sounds like similar. We've heard about other tournaments doing a similar fashion where they're just put under the gun, and either they ended really late at night and started really early in the morning, so they had no time to sleep anyways, or these players are put through so much stress and pressure that but they just get worn out physically, and then that also plays into their mental state when they're trying to draft, when they're trying to win their lane last hit, do all of their mechanics. I mean, there's only so much that you can kind of go on autopilot for. You obviously need to be aware. And then when you're against what a lot of people are saying are the number one team in the world right now, Team DK, and you have to go into that in that state, yeah, that is going to play out immensely not in your favor. So, we're not exactly sure a DK versus Empire how that is on like a completely even level, but we do have to say DK obviously is strong. We're not going to take anything away from them. And like you said, no games dropped. Excellent play. You can tell their coordination is just at the peak that it's ever been. It's incredible how well they coordinate and time their attacks, their spells, and really just kind of. I love to call them the hive mind. I love that. I think you brought that term in. It just seriously, when you watch them play, it's almost like it's one person just using these dangling puppets to kind of control the game.
I don't know if I used the term hive mind, but I'll take credit for it. And yeah, I mean, I definitely want to talk a lot about DK because they did phenomenal, and I think there really is just so much to say for what they were able to accomplish throughout the tournament and in the finals. But what do you think about starting with EG and Empire? I mean, they were doing the losers bracket finals. It wound up going to 3 games, actually. Empire winding up coming out on top. How did you feel about this matchup in general, maybe? Or you can choose your question, Jay.
Oh, sweet.
How much do you think EG missed having Fear?
That's what I was going to just mention. Yeah, the Eternal Envy sub-in for Fear for this tournament due to wrist injuries. Yeah, he did a little too much of the old don't go there, or
the old
I don't
point and click.
Ah, yes, the old point and click. That's a new one. I haven't heard that terminology before, but
me neither.
Unfortunately for him, yes, he was not able to play. But Eternal Envy, obviously a great substitute. Maybe not personality-wise for your team, but skill-wise, he's obviously a phenomenal player. So came in there and helped them out. Obviously, getting to third, he couldn't have done too poor of a job on his role. But I'm going to go ahead and pick the latter one for starters. I think that they did miss him greatly. He's always obviously been, the captain. He's been around. He is kind of been the cornerstone of the team. Now I don't obviously listen into their conversation, so I don't know how much he kind of directs each individual person. But from what we gathered from the free to play, with his kind of coaching mentality and everything else, I feel like he's a pretty important part of their coordination. Would you agree?
I feel like he is just the personality type that I would absolutely want to be around at a LAN finals when everything is so crazy and up in the air. And this team not too long ago did not have a sponsor. It's really just been this year that they've come together and played really well. And so together here at this LAN tournament for a huge sum of money, I don't want to say that their draft was crippled or anything, because you look through some of the games and Arteezy still got to play a lot of the heroes that he's really good at, has a good win rate with. But I definitely think just as the personal side of it, having someone there who's calm and calculated and can just be a really positive sort of focus to the people around him, I think that's something that they might have wound up missing out. But like you said, they still wound up doing really well with Isama. So I think that's impressive in and of itself, that you're just able to come in without your carry and still perform this well.
No, they definitely did a great job. Apparently, going to the group stages, actually, EG was 3-0 in the group stages. They looked phenomenal from there. We thought they'd be a top contender for sure just from there. IG, Navi, and Roxkis all in tying 1 and 2. They had to go to a tiebreaker to find out which of those three ended up being IG to go in the winner bracket. But they came out of the gates fighting and showed no trace of any kind of issues or problems or anything that was going to slow them up. Apparently Arteezy kind of having some questionable performances with Ember Spirit after the group stages, but I feel like Ember Spirit in general, though, has been one of those heroes that either you see just absolutely kind of shitting on players. I'm trying not to use my bad language, but I couldn't think of a different word there. Just absolutely doing a phenomenal job killing players, moving around the map, and securing kills and getting farm. Or they get shut out completely and then just have like an awful game going forward. So I feel like I've seen both very often, and there's not a lot of middle ground for that hero.
Yeah, and I think too there was actually another game where TZ Astral imprisons himself playing OD, and it was kind of a mistake. It didn't punish them too much, and he even cited, he's like, yeah, jet lag and just kind of tired, and
what's the jet lag to video game lag ratio? Is there one?
It's a lot of MS building up there along the line. So, I think that just again goes to how much it being a LAN tournament can play into the outcome of the games. The thing that I thought was really interesting about this matchup too is just the importance of Dazzle and the fact that he was really a critical hero in the match between EG and Empire in every single one of the games.
I was going to say, he's been a critical hero in this meta in general, though, to be fair. But yeah you're right. He did play even a better role. Sorry to cut you off.
And that's something even that DK, I think, recognized. They banned him out in both of the games they play in the finals. So I was just really kind of impressed. I mean, I guess you pretty much see out of EG and Empire the same sort of strategies that they are wind up running in general. But then you go and you compare that up against DK, who, like we said, they're just sort of have an ebb and flow to them. They all seem to react. They all seem to have the game sense of exactly what's going on. And I feel like we're able to capitalize on that pretty well. And the thing that I think stands out the most to me, sort of in contrast to what we had talked about when we talked about DK, and even especially to Empire when we talked about them, is that they were able to play so many different heroes and even just a different global strategy for some of their games than they had made popular throughout the group stage. It just completely blew me away how well they were able to execute so many different strategies.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're showing diversity, and that's going to be so critical when we get into TI4, which, by the way, I believe it's May 12th, is the beginning of the qualifiers. So that is really soon, which is just exciting in the first place. But when you get into this tournament, you better have some strategies. You better get some practices going, and get a lot of ideas going into this draft. Because if it's just like in Dazzle meta, they're going to get banned, and then you're going to have something new going into these new finals here. So, heaven forbid we see Morphling make a comeback. He's been encroaching, but at the end of the day, it's great to see just how many different heroes and things that these teams can run. DK also just showing a lot of depth. And the other great thing about DK, not to take away from EG here, but DK also feels like they can swap like Ice 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 and Mushi just all around the map. Like they don't even really need to stay in there. Like Arteezy is going to be mid. Like you just know that. But Mushi, he could be in any of the 3 lanes. It really could be whatever they pick for him. If he goes Centaur, he might go off lane, he might go safe lane, he might go... We don't know. And that's a beautiful thing to have that up your sleeve, because it's just going to lead to more confusion and therefore always an advantage for your team.
Yeah, I mean, I think you even mentioned too, just to comment on the individual skill level, Burning playing a different hero every game in the finals, the LAN finals.
He had 9 heroes in 9 matches, so that's insane.
That's pretty good, and it's not like these were all even the super popular meta relevant. I mean, played a Faceless Void that was just awesome. Getting the Aghanim Scepter really early, making use of the cooldown was like everything everyone wanted to talk about during the game. But even just like the general stat build up, he was just so hard to take down. And then of course having that team fight component, it looked like Burning was just playing Faceless Void every other game. Really, any of these heroes he played, there wasn't one where you go like, oh yeah, okay, he can play it, but what if he had played this hero instead? Really making every single one of them look like a practice strategy. Just showing his mastery, his professionalism, and how much of a veteran he is in the scene.
Mushi kind of showed it too, but then again, he always does. But 6-0 Centaur record. I mean, can we just pause for a second, and can we just take a hoof stomp for a second and just think about that?
Naga Siren Sleep.
And we don't need to be asleep. We need to actually wake up and
Oh,
get
all
this
right, well.
going. But I mean, 6-0 in a LAN event. I mean, why did they let that get through so much against Mushi here?
That's what I also found a little unfortunate. I mean, we just said, they wind up using Centaur, and not just Centaur, but Centaur Invoker as like,
Uh-huh.
oh, we can back-to-back pick. What up? Pick them both up, and they made this really like a crucial strategy for them throughout this tournament. And you look at game one against Empire, and they get it. They give up Lycan. Oh no. And they pick up what they want, and they handle Lycan. No big deal.
Yeah.
And just to add to, I think how crazy it is that they were able to give up the Lycan, do whatever they wanted, whatever they were comfortable with. They even had Resolution, who got a triple kill mid on Puck. A glorious play. It was beautiful. It doesn't matter. They just are able to just play the game well outside of that and able to just push a victory out.
And they're always doing, on top of that, their mechanics are just so hard to compete with. Their last hitting, they always seem to be generally towards the top, 2 or 3 of their players on the top of the last hit charts for the most part. I mean, they really are superb at everything they do. And this is not just like a fanboy DK moment here, but we're really just trying to commend them for just showing this overall power in this tournament. Really pulled it all together since the beginning of their run since last August, and now really coming together here and doing a phenomenal job. I loved the Centaur Invoker, and giving Ice Ice Ice, that's like his staple hero. I mean, he has a set. When you have a set for a hero, maybe you should get it banned. Like, I don't know. Maybe I understand at the same time not banning, because, right, you only get 2 on your first round of bans. So that's a really tough decision. Like, okay, we could ban out his Invoker, but I feel like these players have such a diverse pool that they're going to make another strategy work just as well.
Well, and that's too, when you just look at how the draft worked out for this first game, it just reminds me of the Alliance Navi Finals of the International 3, and you see that sort of what had been the standard bans, your first 4, whatever, which sort of just went out the window all of a sudden. And it was just like, this is what we don't want to play against this time, and this is what we feel like is good. And when you look at the fact that Empire go, okay, we'll take Lycan. Silence Lycan, amazing. We even talked about, his just ridiculous win rate. But I think when you see that you're playing up against DK, a team who has made the Centaur Invoker so popular throughout the tournament, has played it so well, pick up the Invoker, I feel like, for Resolution, a great hero for him to not only give you one of your staple weapons in the arsenal, but to just take that combination away from DK. And who know? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you could say there's a little bit of fatigue factor in there, just saying that, oh yeah, we probably should have done that. Sorry, we were playing up against 2 other top tier teams today.
And they didn't have a chance probably to really. I mean, they obviously could watch what DK was doing, but they had so much going on in their own mental state that. How much could they really factor in what they needed to do against this team? And as we said before, DK has no issues running. I'm sure they have a huge list of strategies. They're ready to go in an instant. Like, okay, which heroes are available? All right, we can make this work. As we saw with Ember Spirit Game 2, they had the Ember Spirit Elder Titan combo. Ice 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 on the Elder Titan in the offlane. Showing how amazing. We kind of almost forgot about Elder Titan in a way. He's been obviously not nearly as popular as he was once he joined Captain's Mode. But, it obviously wasn't the complete reason they won the match, but it definitely was really helpful for that Ember Spirit to just really finish off heroes with the extra sleight of fist damage that he gained through that armor reduction. And it was like, also, they didn't have their Dazzle, right? But they got Abaddon instead. And Abaddon kind of working in a similar fashion. Oh, okay, you do my Ember? Well, I got the heal, I got the shields. Ember's not going to die to your doom. And then he's going to turn around the fight and kill the rest of your team. So they really had a great answer to what Empire tried to shut them down with in that second game.
That's the other thing, too, that I think stood out to me, just against having these 2 teams against one another. We saw DK's diversity. And when we were talking about Empire last week, I even mentioned, you look at the heroes that they play, and you'll have, they have this set of like 3 or 4 heroes for a player that has like 80, like WTF is going on, and then it'll like drop 10% for the win rate. So really, there are those staple heroes, and there are, I feel like, enough for each of their players that, okay, well, we don't have one, we'll use another. You can't just like ban completely against one player and expect that to work out well. But just going back to the Dazzle again, you even look through the bans for the second game. Dazzle, Lycan, Rubik, Sand King, who always want to fly, brought out of nowhere for this tournament. These were all heroes that we even talked about last week being like major heroes for Empire, and what they were able to accomplish in this year previous. So, I mean, just the fact that DK were able to focus in on some of these heroes that they are very strong with, I feel, certainly gave them an edge.
But we can't discount Empire too much. This is once again, their few LAN presentations here, and they came out fighting. They came out swinging. And, because some people are like, oh, well, Empire is so strong online, but what do they do in the LAN scene? Well, this is exactly what they do in the LAN scene. They bring it hard. I mean, they clawed their way out of the losers bracket. It was almost like a Navi-esque thing, and it's not just because of the 3 similar player nationalities that Navi brings, but also just the fact that they came from the bottom, and now they were here.
Oh, no, you didn't just do that.
Sometimes you gotta bring a little pop culture in.
Oh God!
But when you can't pull it off, that's when you realize you don't do it again. But
he did
it. He done it. But yeah, I was proud of them. I have to say, like a father figure almost. I was like, you know what, you guys came in there with some haters, some doubters, and you proved to them that you had what it takes. And we were talking about how we expect them to get an invitation. This just confirmed it to me. I think all 3 of these teams at this point deserve an invitation.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was something that they were even talking about. Do you think Fear is going to be back in time for TI4? And it was like, yeah, he'll be cool. So hopefully he doesn't like lose anything from not playing. Obviously, health comes first, but there's still plenty of time to boot camp and sort of get back into the swing. But again, if you just want to, the one thing that I absolutely want to pat Empire on the back for is, you do see some Sand Kings popping in throughout the tournament.
Burrowing
come up recently. What?
I'm sorry, I said burrowing in.
Oh, you. Oh, you.
Gosh.
But always want to fly. 4 games, flawless. 4-0. It really just had some great plays, had some nice multi-man stuns, but even had some great stuns at the low levels when he's struggling to find the range on it. Making his presence known around the map, and an 8-2 game of 5-3, a 6-2. Okay, a 3-7. Still a victory though, and that's what really counts. I think that just goes to show you that when you can get support players to come out with records like that, I think you can see the kind of impact that they're able to have beyond just buying the wards and being there for the big team fights in the middle and the later part of the game.
Yeah, if he was playing Nyx Assassin, his Pindis rating would have been off the charts. We'll just put it that way.
It would have been just engorged.
Larger than life, you might say. But yeah, either way, I thought it was an exciting LAN finals. For the most part, obviously, like we said, DK kind of almost steamrolling the event, but it didn't mean that there weren't exciting games in between all of the other ones. You can see some really exciting matches. You can see some interesting picks, like for example in DK versus IG Game 1 of the winners bracket. You get to see DK rolling in with a 4 Meepo and making it work. Up till recently, Fnatic's been really just No-Tail the one really trying to get that started up for his team. But, that you get to see MMY doing it for his, and it wasn't like the most thrilling thing in the world, like, oh my gosh, this hero, look at it go! Because he was mostly stacking creeps and then kind of running around the map, setting up some nets and whatnot. But the fact is, he was used, and towards the end of the game, as LD put it, if this game even goes later, Meepo is like an insurance policy. Because now, essentially, they've got late game potential from him. Like, what better support can you ask for in the late game than a Meepo?
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. It sort of reminds me a lot of the Naga Siren when you saw her come in as a support when you had traditionally thought of her as, like your mid or your hard carry. And then you go, oh yeah, all right, the net is awesome. Ain't nothing wrong with that. And then when you go to look at Meepo, you have like sort of not
Many
as
nets.
good net, but the fact that he is able to, use his clones to stack, to gain experience in other parts of the map, the ability to just be mobile and to be able to participate all over, and like you said, able to be that insurance policy to get up the farm, to be transition into like a semi-carry role. And what we saw too was even, okay, well, Meepo gets the mech. Cool. Makes perfect sense and sort of fits into your support role, and then is able to sort of transition into bigger items out of that. And I thought that was really neat to see. I understand why you wouldn't love it, but I also didn't hate it either. And I wouldn't mind seeing it some more.
Well, it also synergized with their lineup. The way they ran their strategy. Obviously, they had the they had the Invoker Centaur combination there. So as we were talking about, the setups with the Sunstrikes are massive damage. But Meepo eventually got his Blink Dagger, so he was able to initiate with all his nets to keep in place for those Sunstrikes and others, Meteor, the Big Meatball, and other spells. And then also, Klink's got a Blink Dagger. I mean, this team was mobile. I mean, they were ready to just jump around, get on their target, and blow them up. And I think that's another reason why Meepo just fit in so well. I mean, yeah, he kind of acted almost like a Sand King in that way, where he's kind of like jumped in to kind of set up the kill for his team. But like, I love the aspect also of the multiple things. First of all, he was able to get later in the game, I believe he had like the number 4 CS in the game as this 4 slot. 4 out of 10 heroes. That's not bad for a support. And also, though, he's able to be in like 2 lanes at a time, essentially, if he wants to be, while stacking creeps. Like, this is the ultimate support. He's getting wards, he's stacking creeps, stacking ancients, ganking middle. I mean, he's doing everything at once, and it's just like, you can't get that from many other heroes.
Yeah, I agree, and I certainly understand why you would say this is a weird hero to have as a support. No real dependable crowd control. You have to aim the net. It doesn't go through BKB if we're trying to make the Naga comparison. So I certainly understand the argument against it, and I think it's a valid argument. But again, this, I think, to me, these have been patches of late that really open the playing field to heroes that you're just comfortable running, and you see the way MMY was able to use it. No Tail is clearly a seasoned Meepo and can certainly make it work. So I like seeing him in this capacity, just even if to inspire other teams, like, oh yeah, this is a reasonable thing. You can get away with this if you want to use that for your team, that be part of your global strategy.
Still haven't seen the Meepo A yet, though, in this tournament. They had the opportunity, didn't do it, but I guess we'll have to wait for TI4 to see that one get pulled out by Fnatic or something. But in the meantime, I mean, I guess I can understand why they'd rather have Dazzle, I guess. But if we have to. But honestly, it was still a very impressive thing.
Yeah, overall though, just looking at the tournament, I was kind of interested in just seeing like what the hero pool really started to look like. And you look at some of the top heroes. I'm just going to read them off for you, Jay.
Sure.
You're welcome to say anything that stands out to you. Most played hero, Dazzle, 20 games. Wow. Centaur with 15. Murano with 15. And then you have Invoker, Shadow Demon, Ancient Apparition, Puck Luna, Sand King as being your, let's say, top 9. You know what? And then Ember Spirit, just to make it a nice even 10. Any of those stand out to you? I mean,
half of those heroes weren't used like 2 patches ago. That's what I can safely say, which is pretty cool. But now that we're getting close to TI4, I hear the rumor mill churning, and I hear it churning that's saying that there's going to be one more patch before TI4 that's going to hit. They were assumingly waiting for the Starladder Finals to end, and then they were going to release it. Obviously, they only have like 3 weeks before the qualifiers, so they really can't wait too long. But it wouldn't be anything probably devastatingly changing, but it may be a round of nerfs for some of these heroes. Dazzle may get a little bit of a little nerf. I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential for, if that patch hits, for maybe some changes right before the match. I would be a little disappointed, frankly. Do you think they should release a patch before this TI4?
I don't think so. If it is, I think it would be small. I don't think you would have anything, like you said, nothing major, because we see Invoker, still being prevalent, but now like Exort. So that's
Yep.
sort of
He's
changed
back.
from
The
how he had.
pendulum swing, as you were saying earlier.
Yeah, he's back from being viable still. Dazzle, I mean, yeah, the most picked up hero, but winds up breaking even at a 50% win rate. I mean, Nerf Sand King, 90% win rate. Come on.
OP.
Jeez. Ridiculous.
Centaur win rate a little off the chain, but
Yeah, 60, 67, that's kind of high across the tournament. But, Ancient Apparition, this doesn't count bans that I'm looking at, but, not in the top three after him being the most picked or banned hero in 6-8, if that's still correct. Was true not too long ago. So, and I think it's just interesting, Shadow Demon. It was like, maybe I just haven't been paying attention, and that's actually what it's been. Because you go back, and he's actually sort of, over the last month, I feel like, become more popular, and you see, it's a Shadow Demon a day. That's kind of interesting now. Oh, a couple Shadow Demons, and really the fact that he winds up being really tied for third most used hero in the Starladder Finals, I found very interesting, kind of refreshing, because really it's been a while, I think, since we've seen him, and we sort of talked about the buffs through the Shadow Poison, the potential buff in the Shadow Poison if you're able to get 5 stacks. I feel like not super game-breaking or anything that you would all of a sudden want this hero, but it's neat to see him come back and be viable.
He's
again.
also supplementary. If you remember that term from the days where we learned that mustard is supplementary to... Nope, that's not right. It's like saying that hot dog buns are supplementary to ketchup. No, the other way around. Ketchup
What are you saying?
Ketchup, hear me out. Ketchup is supplementary to hot dog sales in a grocery store. Meaning, if you buy hot dogs, you're more likely to then go purchase ketchup. Now let me translate this to Dota. If you are going to get more Mirana picks in your pro scene, Shadow Demon picks are therefore going to be more tempting to go with. See, I was going somewhere. I had a point. It took me a long time to get there, but it actually came out to be completely accurate and well thought out. Well, no, that's not true. It was well thought out. It was not well delivered. How about that?
Okay, that'll do. And yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, you see pretty much almost a 1-to-1 pick. Mirana picked one more game. Actually, that extra game that Mirana was picked was a win. Otherwise, it's a 9-to-6 Mirana and an 8-6 Shadow Demon. So, those numbers might correlate. But the one that I think is really interesting is the fact that you look at Lycan in this 8 games played, 1 win, 7 losses.
Oh,
this is
that's devastating.
Might be getting reined in a little bit. Maybe doesn't need some nerfs. Maybe it just took a little time for people to figure it out.
Lycan has never needed... Well, that's not true. There was the one time where he really needed nerfs, and he got it. But ever since then, he hasn't really needed changes. Right, it's just people adjusting to him and figuring out, okay, I'm against Lycan, let's pick Centaur. Alright, we got a great strong answer for him now because Centaur stomps on him and the return damage is brutal. There's different ways to handle the Lycan. It's just figuring out, oh, okay, you got him. I'm going to go Naga Siren mid and late game crush you with all of my split pushing and farm. I mean, these teams have figured out ways around it. So, yeah, 1-7, that is actually really surprising to hear, but that's, in a way, kind of reassuring, too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to see when heroes have super high win rates, just really on the basis that, you'd select them to be around, but not banned out all the time, or just be the auto wins as some heroes have been in the past, like your favorite Morphling. So I think that's kind of really interesting. There are some more heroes I think have really interesting win rates. Doom 1-5, Storm Spirit 1-5, Darkseer 5-2. So he's doing fine, apparently. Kind of nice to see.
Not bad.
Not that you can sort of condense the whole patch down to the finals of this one tournament, but it is nice to see that some of these heroes that I feel like you have sort of stigmatized into not being useful because they have poor win rates or being too good or being just very successful at this point in time, sort of having the tables turned on them. Again, just to say that I think that some of these heroes that might be winning all the time is just because people haven't quite figured out how to play against them.
Yeah, and it's definitely coming out strong here, and I'm really excited and ready to see how this translates. All this information we've just gathered from this LAN final, because obviously these are some of the very top teams in the world. So to see, except for Korea, but yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I'm gonna lay off them for a second. That's not nice of me to do. But to be fair, they are like the cavemen to our modern time. Like, did you hear about that South American tribe that got discovered recently that's still using like bow and arrows and stuff because they were left alone for so long?
I still feel like I just saw someone hit their kid in a supermarket. Sorry, I still need a minute.
Well,
all right.
To be fair, no, but they're going to ramp up. That's the thing. Shots fired, perhaps. J4Y has been shooting a lot of fires. That makes no sense the way I just worded that. But the point is, they will be making a comeback. But the whole point of that whole statement is that we saw a lot of good teams coming out here, and some of the best in the world. And the strategies were kind of getting thrown around. We're seeing these new heroes kind of leaking back in, but I'm curious to see if this meta is just going to stay exactly the same when we get into the tournament, or when we get there, are they going to start delivering the other heroes that we haven't been seeing so much? Are we going to start seeing the Anti-Mage come back? Are we going to see the Morphling come back? Are we going to see, who knows what is in store for us?
Well, you did see Na'Vi break out the Juggernaut, who I feel like
that's kind of their thing. Though.
They're like trump card pick for Havost. I mean, they use it really well.
Havost is sleepy and kind of out of energy drinks. They're like, let's just get him Juggernaut. Maybe that'll work.
Yes. It's comforting to see all these extra heroes. Like you said, are we going to see some of these other ones? I think we sort of do, and we have Treant Protector, sort of made famous by Gobeluk and Roxkiss, being used by EG as well. So, another team really using that hero effectively and being that sort of, again, the trump card or strategy that I think is just like sort of for them almost. I'm really enjoying seeing stuff like that, and I think absolutely as you get closer to these bigger tournaments, as these prize pools continue to increase, you're going to have to go back to these strategies, and hopefully you've been practicing them up. Puppy Chen, let's go. I feel like I haven't seen that in forever.
But it does get banned a lot against him, to be fair. It's not necessarily his fault either. We saw the Pugna 1 getting implemented again by DK and some other teams. I mean, these strategies that kind of fell off but now are kind of coming back in again, it's no surprise to me that it can work well because we've seen it work in the past. It's just a matter of mixing it up and knowing when a certain strategy will work against the opposing lineup, depending on how they're building their team too.
I even remember saying this in reference to it might have been the International too, where it was like Death Prophet was like really popular for like a week. Yeah, she was popular for like a week, and she had like 8-2 or something crazy, and then everyone stopped. And then the International happened, and then there was like a day of Death Prophet, and then everybody was done with it. So, we're going to see Sniper for like a week again, and he's going to be great. I bet he's going to come out with a winning record, and then everybody's going to forget about him again. And I think that's just how it's going to be with some of these heroes, to a certain extent. Do you want to play a hero until other teams figure him out, or do you want to get some wins off of him and then put that one in your back pocket and then continue to work the strategy out in your head while you're waiting for the finals of other tournaments to come up? So
Sniper Drow combo, it's coming. It'll be alive.
Sniper Drow Visage.
Oh, that's nasty.
And then
Nature's Prophet jungle.
And then Beastmaster and Lycan.
Titan.
Yes, sure, whatever. Don't ask how the lanes work. That's not important. What's important.
You win at the draft. That's what matters. They concede right when they see it. That's generally how it goes. If they don't, you probably lose. So, no.
I will say, if that exact lineup gets used, we will totally Dota Theater 3000 the crap out of that.
Oh yeah, make that happen if you're a captain draft. Just pick it. Just pick it, and we will guaranteed cast your game. No hands.
So what? It's 0 against 30 at the 10-minute mark. I mean, whatever. We'll still do it, and it'll still be great. Everyone will enjoy it, especially us. And that's what's really important. So,
Right.
I don't know. What other things, did you have anything else sort of in closing, maybe, that you thought was worth mentioning about this competition in general, or any of the three
I
teams?
did have a question about for you here. Want to know your
Okay.
opinion. I've kind of noticed in recent patches, Invokers used to heavily favor going for that Oghanims as like a second or third item, one of their big main cores. And as of lately, it seems that they've really shied away from that and instead gone just straight Necronomicon. Why do you think that they favored that so much more than their Oghanims?
I would say I think Necro is still just a really strong item, one. And two, that Invokers, especially now that we've seen a lot of the Exort coming back too, of late, you're really getting most of the utility out of your hero that you need. I mean, being able to invoke another spell is certainly useful, but if you're just dropping Sunstrikes to participate for a lot of the game, and then looking to try to farm, looking to push elsewhere, I think that you're getting more benefit out of the Necro book, because really it's only in those big, huge fights that you're really going to be able to take full advantage of that, I feel like, or take the most advantage of it. So if a lot of your game plan is just about participating through Sunstrike or through the Forge Spirits, I mean, that's another thing too. You're just sort of adding bodies. I mean, that's another thing that was noticing in, I believe it was EG that ran the Shadow Demon and the Luna together in the losers bracket finals. Just having the illusions to sit there and hit the tower on top of whatever else they had, just having bodies up against the buildings really is something that's difficult to deal with, and I think is maybe just a choice of preference, but I think just gives you a lot of potential for push.
Yeah, I think you're pretty spot on with that. I mean, I think also, as you're kind of alluding to, the Quas Wex build seems to do better with Anoganims in general. First of all, you have more mana to go around typically because you are going for that EMP. It's a higher level. It's going to give you more mana return, so you'll be able to keep spamming spells a lot more throughout the fight. But as you say, the Exort's more like kind of like a minion controlling kind of build, where, like you say, you get the Forge Spirits up, you get that Hand of Midas into the Necronomicon, and now you're hitting like a truck. You're kind of pushing bases really effectively with your high base damage, plus the spirits, plus now your Necro units, and on top of that, Necro units, of course, can deward at rank 3, as well as scout any kind of invis that they have going on. So, yeah, I totally can grasp it. Despite the Necro getting nerfed in a recent patch, it's still a good item. Just like when Hand of Midas got nerfed, it's still getting picked up by certain heroes. Not everyone, not like it was back in the day, but it still is getting used, and so yeah, I guess I can definitely understand that.
And that's the thing, too. I mean, you think of the nerf that happened to it most recently, and I think getting the more gold for killing the units, that's really... I feel like if you're playing at a high level, you're exhibiting enough control, and you're using the item at the proper times, that is a non-factor. You're using it to push, but then you might pull out at least the ranged creep if it's getting low. You might leave the melee to try to do the true damage to somebody, but I feel like you're not losing a whole lot because of the nerfs if you're playing the item effectively. So I think another reason that it still remains to be viable and a strong option on the Invoker. So,
well done.
Thank you. I thought I did well. I was proud of myself.
I think it's a good way to wrap it up, though.
Absolutely. You should always wrap it up. And in true fashion, go out there, play some games, submit the match IDs, and we will make
please.
Dota Theater 3000s, and we're gonna have a Dota Theater release party.
Oh yeah.
The location is to be determined, but it's BYOB, and
Viper cake and punch will be served.
Yes, it'll be magical. So send in your stuff, go out there, play some games, watch some games. We'll see you guys next week.